Wow. So forgive me, and I pray that you can find me again. What a Mercury retrograde moment that was. Wow. So I guess we had to completely get unplugged to be plugged back in. How far out? That has never happened before. So thank you for your patience. Thank you for hanging out and perhaps rediscerning and rediscovering this presentation again so that we could come together and finish up here today. Again, I'm so grateful for all of the subscribers, for everyone joining this morning. If you have just hopped on, and if you can, give me a little hello in the comment box. Let me know that you found this show again if you were with me for part one. The God phone is calling. This is amazing. We get back on just in time for the God phone. Let's check it out. Hello. Blessings. Hello, dear God. Yes, we're totally talking about all that. The Matrix, Neo, Morpheus. Yes, these archetypes. The grid. Absolutely. Okay. God says hi, everyone. And God is also saying, be gentle on yourself. I love that. Oh, you want me to talk about that? I did. I wrote it down on the other board. I'm going to have to get up and go see what it says, though. Okay. And you want us to read a little bit from the Alchemy book? I have it. Yeah, right here. The Alchemist's Handbook. For sure. Yes. And as well, God is just reminding us that God is the feeling realization of oneness, the experience of unity consciousness. Thank you for that reminder. And it can be expressed in many different ways, in many different words, that same meaning. Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you, dear God. Namaste and blessings. Thank you for always giving us a call here at 4D Trinity. Page 69. Okay, we got it. Thank you. So blessings. And it's very, very interesting. So God wants us to talk about this quote that this gentleman here at the part one of our presentation, I was talking a lot about See Free from This Esoteric Life podcast and how he is the inspiration for this talk today. If you missed part one, please do go back. There was a nice little presentation, a slide presentation that I offered. And we got cut off. It's a little Mercury retrograde maybe, but here we are hopping back on. And I'm so very grateful for everyone joining this morning. My messages, my comments now are not available. So I don't know if I will be able to see you, even if you did leave a comment. So just letting you know, we're just having one of those days, but no worries, right? We got this. It's very interesting. We know these eclipses have been just ongoing and fully on, powerfully activated. There's the final eclipse of these 3 eclipses on Saturday, August 11th. Use this time wisely. And at the end, what God was saying on the God phone is to be gentle on yourself. Be gentle as you complete these spirals, these rungs of your inner ladder of healing, as you come into this next part of fullness, of fully embodying more of your light body, of laying down that tar body and coming into the fullness of your being. To be gentle on yourself, to know that there are massive cycles happening and occurring within you and all around you. Now, God did say that we are going to read from the Alchemist's Handbook. And it alludes to everything that we're talking about, bringing it back into the heart center. And before we read from the book, I want to review some of what we were covering in part one. So we did watch a little 2-minute clip from the movie The Matrix, where Morpheus offers Neo the red pill or the blue pill. Very famous scene. And Morpheus says, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. And what we were identifying is that when you're in the Matrix and you are of the Matrix, it is very difficult to know that you are in the Matrix. Yet when you start to have a journey, maybe it's mushrooms or ayahuasca, or maybe it's LSD, maybe it is simply a Kundalini experience, an activation that is out of body, a paranormal experience, something, an enlightening experience, a healing, you start to realize, you step out of time in the way that we've been taught time is. And you start to realize there's a whole other world, a whole other existence, a whole other part of you that exists out of this world. Right? And as we start to bridge the gaps between those parts of ourselves, we start to reconfigure and rewire and make whole our multidimensional presence and being. And as we do that, we create space for the greater whole, for everyone else to do the same. But we start to peek beyond the veils. The more ad that we love, the more love that we add into ourselves by way of practicing self-love, by way of creating peace within ourselves, by way of practicing non-judgment and forgiveness, and all of those things that collapse time and that just bring us into the now moment. As we do that, we bridge heaven on earth, and we make it so accessible for everyone and everything that surrounds us. So no one can be told what the matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. So, you know, it is interesting, right? These posts online, or this idea of like, y'all better wake up. It's like, you can't force it, right? We're all in our different evolution, and there's no right or wrong. If someone's spiritually seemingly enlightened and someone isn't, there's no judgment. All is well in all of creation. Everything simply is what it is. And we allow that to be. Yet what we practice here, as based in the teachings of A Course in Miracles, is that if it is not love, it is illusion. It is not real if it is not love. And it is interesting, right? Because Santos was speaking about this mental training in the presentation in part 1. Santos was speaking about a mental training, and that's it, where we have not strengthened our ability to master our minds, then fear will be given right of way. Fear feeds that tar body that we were talking about earlier. And when fear is given right of way to drive, to steer the mechanism of your mind-body continuum, then you lose yourself. You lose your full power and authority. You lose your sovereignty, your independence, your royal, galactic, multidimensional, rooted, grounded nature that is infinite, because you are one with love, one with God, one with white light. And that is unfuckable with. Yet when we are holding fear in ourselves, all those patterns, all of those memories, all of those triggers, all of those grids, all of those agreements that we have with the collective consciousness that say that, yeah, that's real, that's the truth, that hurts, that sucks, where we're judging and we have memory placed there, it's more real, and that feeds the tar body. But again, as we practice healing, self-love, on purpose, not judging our brothers or sisters, placing love in our communities and our families, we start to bridge the gaps, connecting to heaven on earth. And so we start to see, we pop in and out of time, and we begin to see the other. We begin to see the trinary. We begin to see that we don't have to take the red pill or the blue pill, but that we can choose love, and everything else collapses organically. Where we place our energy and attention is where our energy and attention will show up for us. Right? We know that our environment is alive and responds to our perception of it. And that is the metaphysics of our mind training. That is the metaphysics of us being able to embody and ground and speak and believe, and beyond believing, know, and beyond knowing, have faith, and beyond faith, have the experience of knowing, because we have known before, because we've experienced it before. I heard, what's his name? He did all of those interviews with Bill Moyers. Oh my gosh, why can't I think of his name? Masks of Eternity. I can't think of his name. Isn't it amazing? It'll come back. But he said, why do I need faith when I have experience? You see, if you've experienced if you've survived death, right? If you've healed yourself of any ailment, big or small, if you've had any out of time experience with love and with light, that speaks to that. Why do you even need faith? You know, because of your own experience, and what has happened once in the way of love and light can happen over and over and over again. So let's come back to these ideas that Morpheus was offering. You know, can you see the matrix in the world around you? And without judging it, without it being right or wrong, right? The status quo, it's how we're brought up, right? It is going to school, starting from very, very little. It is taking your lunch sack to school. It is what's in the lunch sack. It is what is taught at school. It is how we're dressed for school. It is the time, the ringing of the bell, the end of one class, the beginning of another, the recess, the start of the day, the end of the day. It's this very programmed experience. We wake up, we eat breakfast, we do this, we go to work, we come home, we make dinner, we sit, we do, and it's a beautiful life. And it's a sensual life, right? We are not saying that the world is bad or wrong. It is a beautiful, beautiful place, especially when allowed in communion through love. And when those sensory experiences are valued and given a sacred space of being accessible and utilized from a higher self plane of existence. This world is beautiful. This earth is a beautiful place. It is so sensual. It is delicious. But where we place our energy, again, is where our energy is going to be. So let us choose to see through lenses of love and light, and that becomes easier and easier and easier. The more we heal ourselves, the more we disband the fear, the more we disband the tar body qualities, the toxic energy within ourselves. It is easier to live in peace when stress is released from the body, whether that stress is of the mind, whether it is emotional stress or physical stress. Right? We know this. So can you see the matrix in the world? The tick-tock, the clocking in, the clocking out. And again, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just, that's what its job is. That's what it does. That's what it's here to provide this framework for us. Yet again, as we start to meditate, as we start to experience ourselves bigger than just this body on a multidimensional continuum, we start to recognize and realize that there is so much more. And we start to peek outside of this illusion, of this matrix, of the tick-tock. And we're like, well, what if I wanted to do things my way? What if I don't want to be a postman or an ambulance driver or a firefighter? You know how when you're in school, when you're little, they give you like, do you want, all the girls, do you want to be a nurse? Do you want to be a hairstylist? You know, and all the boys, do you want to be a policeman, a firefighter, postman? And it's fine. This is just the world. This is what the world does, right? We don't need to judge it. But once we start to see outside of it, and then you get the little kid who's like, I want to harvest and grow organic seeds and blah, 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 blah. You know, then you get like these kids who come through and they have a different way of seeing things. They're coming in, these children now, with a new level of consciousness that is, the aptitude of it is 4D consciousness. Yet as well, now we're kind of going off tangent here, but as well, they are coming in without the calibration of their energy vehicle body. And so many are empathic, where they are highly sensitive, highly intuitive, highly psychic. And so part of their journey is learning how to calibrate their energy body to ground. I mean, and for all of us to calibrate that and to ground so that we can be in the world and less of it. What is your red pill, right? So if we think about this red pill, blue pill aspect, what is your red pill? What brings you closer to truth? What collapses timelines of the world? What collapses timelines of this matrix for you? Is it your daily meditation practice? Is it counting your blessings, practicing gratitude? Is it prayer? Is it chanting? All of these things that we do on our spiritual path, even just reading an esoteric book, reading sacred holy scriptures and texts, we are creating the correct conditions for our consciousness to be altered, to have an altered state of consciousness. And it is in that altered state of consciousness that we do peek beyond the veil, that we are given the correct conditions for that to be so that we can see beyond the illusion of what's presented to us as real. And, you know, I got into a conversation with another Instagram friend this week over another post. And it wasn't an argument, but there were two sides, because ultimately, you know, we all have our truth. We all have a sense of what's true to us, whether it's about your diet, whether it's about who you vote for, whether it's about what you believe, about the soil, about the air quality, how you feel about radiation from the cell phone towers. You know, we all have either some kind of a belief about it, or we're just like, whatever. Some people are like, I don't care what's in my food. As long as it tastes good and it didn't fall on the floor, I'm good with it, you know? And some people are like, no, I need to know every ingredient and how many carbs and where did the cow come from and was it grass-fed, or, you know, there's these different levels of how we plug into the information offered in this world. And ultimately, it is that choice. If we're going to take a pill at all in this dual realm, choosing that red pill that brings you closer to the truth. And really what Neo was exploring is his whole evolution, the de-evolution and the re-evolution of him realizing, whoa, there is this system, there is this matrix set up. And now granted, in that movie, various ways of unplugging. And what we're realizing here for ourselves is that there's a multitude of ways in our day-to-day practices that we can take the red pill, that we can choose truth. And ultimately what happens is we take enough red pills and we come to that place where Santos is speaking of, where there's no pill. You're not choosing red or blue. You're not choosing still from this polarized binary matrix system, where you know there's only one answer to every question, and that answer is love. And love is the trinary. Love is the other. It's not the red pill or the blue pill. It's what if I don't take any pill and I become a light unto myself. I embody and channel love for the highest good of all. And that's definitely a realm that exists outside of that status quo, but that you come into contact with in your communities, whether it's at your church, whether it's at your community center, your Buddhist group gatherings, your meditations, your Zen conferences, or your spiritual expos, wherever they might be, right? It's considered fringe, these ideas, these aspects, or new agey or esoteric or spiritual. And that's because we are taking into consideration that which resides beyond the body. Metaphysics, right, is the study and the practice of that which resides energetically in the invisible realms, and it's learning how to honor and respect, to make contact with that plane of existence, and then how to communicate, how to develop a relationship with that plane, that invisible realm, and learning how to direct that energy from a place of love and light, giving rise to greater grace for yourself and for one and all, for the highest good of all. So what's your red pill? And again, I can't see my comments here, so if you're commenting, I'm so very grateful. And if you did lose us on part 1, but you were able to rejoin here for part 2, if you could drop a little line, if you have a comment box on your end, I would be grateful, because it might show up then later in the replay. So thank you so much for finding us again. And I really love this aspect that, coming back to the red pill concept though, there's this aspect that Neo had to take the pill before Morpheus could show him. And this gives way to this aspect of us choosing on purpose our pathway of experience, and that we do have free will. What does Marianne Williamson say? I love what she says. She says, free will means you can think whatever you want to think, and we have that free will capability within us, each one of us, no matter what, and that cannot be taken from you. You may not know or realize that you have it, but once it is awakened, it is always there. And once it is awakened, it becomes strengthened. It can become strengthened. But Neo had to take one of those pills. He had to take the red pill especially. And then Morpheus was like, okay, follow me. Now I can show you. And in so many ways, when the teacher is ready, the student appears. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. Yet the student has to show that they are willing to devote themselves to the cause, whatever that cause is, that they are willing to show up for school, that they are willing to show up to be schooled. And if you and we collectively do not have that way of showing up and of being open and receptive, then the way cannot be made for us or shown to us. It is our own surrendering to that call within our hearts, to the call of love within and all around, that says, yes, I want to learn more ways to heal myself. Yes, I'm going to choose to place love in the midst of the feelings that I have in this relationship, because I know that these feelings on repeat that I keep having that are so painful are only hurting me, and they're not helping to resolve anything. I'm going to choose to place love here and allow that quantum organizer of love, of nature, the very nature that you are, of your white lightness, to resolve, to create the correct conditions for healing or for that realignment of balance to happen. So we step out of the way. But first, we say, yes, I want to learn. Yes, I want to know. And when you make contact with your higher self, when you make contact with God or with Source or the Buddha nature or whatever it is, and you say, show me, like in this week's tarot reading on my channel, it's all about us coming into attunement and alignment with our inner rebel. And that inner rebel is the part of us that is like that wild Christ consciousness that throws over tables from time to time in order to get the attention of that which surrounds, in order to shake up the status quo flow, to say, hey, look over here, or there's another way to see things, right? Wake up. And again, like we were saying earlier, there's a part of the story that's everything is perfect, and there's no need to try to wake anyone up. There's no judgment. Yet if you are called, and if there is somehow a divine alignment of emotion and mind and body, whereby in the configuration of the people that you're sharing space with, your inner rebel channels through, and you throw something across the room to break up the energy and get everyone's attention to go, hey, you're not getting this. Let's look at this a different way. That's what the rebel is saying. But this takes courage, because you're not just nodding yes, you're not just agreeing with everything. But also the rebel tells us, just like our higher self, or all of those deities or divine gurus or angels that you might pray to or chant with or call in, right? It is that sacred space of knowing, of making space, of sitting, or of being present, and that conscious inviting it in. It's that conscious taking the red pill. It's saying, yeah, I'm going to go on this sacred journey, and I'm going to learn how to heal this relationship with my parent. I'm going to learn how to heal these aspects of shame regarding my sexuality. I'm going to go deep within my healing this year, and I'm going to work on forgiving Every single person I feel who's betrayed me in my life. That's the deep stuff. But that's the point where you make that commitment, where you decide, you devote your energy, your time, your attention, and you show up, that then it meets you there. And you are given wings. You are given wings to move beyond these densities, beyond the density of this third dimension, of this matrix, of this grid of collective consciousness. And we showed you in the presentation earlier my art of how I show and share the grid. And I always like to start with this stick figure here, and that there's this aspect of that our thoughts, our words, our feelings, our emotions connect us to this greater grid, to this matrix of collective consciousness, that my individual thoughts, feelings, words, and deeds connect with those that are like it, with those that vibrationally match it. And as such, connect us all through this matrix of collective consciousness. My mind is connected to your mind. Your mind is connected to mine, and all minds are joined. All minds are joined here, and we're interconnected. What I decide and what I change or what I think intimately connects and affects you, and vice versa. Yet what we're doing is we learn through our meditations, through our practices, through ancient sacred texts that reveal hidden messages. We learn as our DNA dematerializes and rematerializes through these cycles of eclipses. We have more and more access. We begin to peak in greater ways through the veil of illusion to the oneness, to the 4D, to that consciousness where love and only love resides. And that's the mind training, is it's choosing love with your spiritual will. Remember, your spiritual will is a muscle, and it's using that muscle over and over and over and over again. And remembering that very little is going to give rise, very little will commence without your agreement to it, right? You have to take the red pill, or you have to, at least if you're not going to take either pill, right? And let's release have to. You get to. You get to choose with your free will. If we do not, when we do not choose with our own free will, a will is made through us, a will is chosen for us. And so let us be the conscious co-creators, the conscious conductors and directors of our lives. Let us be aware of what is that matrix, that TikTok. Let us be aware of how we are all our own Neos on our own adventure of this life stream and of this live stream. Right? Especially those that are curious, that are seeking for that. You know, may it be given and gifted to you under grace, but it's all with grace. We never force a will. We pray or we ask, we create the correct conditions within ourselves that it be added unto us, whether it is clairaudience, whether it is telepathy, whether it is an out-of-body experience, whether it is that it's peeking behind the veil, beyond the veil, right? We simply add more love unto ourselves through our breathing practices, our meditations, our prayers, again, our affirmations. Everything that we do in our day-to-day life is done with love. We heal ourselves so ultimately that love is overflowing, and it becomes the cleansing agent through the filters of mind, body, and emotions. It becomes the way that we access, make contact with, and connect with all beings, with all things, and we bridge heaven on earth. We bridge our way to our path. So all of this awakening, all of this healing that you've done, Neo, the one, you are the one. You are your one. You are your savior. You are your light. And everything that you've done up until this point has been a lot of work, but it's not over yet. The show is just beginning. And after this next eclipse on Saturday, August 11th, the energies are really going to start to ramp up. And you're going to be invited to show up in more and more ways. And not just as, let me just make sure, I don't think this is on. Yes, it is. Okay, good. And not just as the version of you that you've been for some time, but what we're being invited into is this like 5.0ing ourselves. is this upgrade, right? Over this period of time, those old DNAs, those DNAs that no longer resonate with the beyond the veil, with the beyond the matrix version of you, are going to sleep again. And the junk DNAs, those that are said to be junk DNAs that have been asleep within you, are waking up. And as those bad boys wake up, I mean, you've probably been feeling it emotionally, your highs and your lows over this last month and a half with these eclipses. I know I have. And it's been an initiation into greater love and greater light, into being able to hold more space for yourself, more space for others, which means your crystalline tube increasing and you channeling, just being a conduit, a channel for greater love and light. Because we know, or maybe we're learning, that as we do step out of time, as we do step out of the mere act of living simply through the senses and through the body, as we go beyond that, as we stretch and expand ourselves, we come into contact with our multidimensional nature, with a part of our path that is destined. And this is bringing me, so the God phone, so we're going to wrap up here shortly, but remember the God phone, God asked me to read something. And again, this is if you missed part 1, and I don't know really who's here, but thank you if you are. It's a Mercury retrograde morning. What are we going to do? But I was mentioning, and I did a whole presentation in part 1. And this whole show is inspired by This Esoteric Life podcast. Go to their .com, go to them on Instagram. That's where I found him. Seafree is, I believe, the name of the cat, of the dude, person behind all this. And they said something so profound in a podcast I was listening to just yesterday. I wrote it on the board, and let me go over and just read it so that I get it right. Fate is what you have. Destiny is what you do with what you have. Now, isn't that something? Fate is what you have. Destiny is what you do with what you have. I love that. So like that, what have you been given? What do you have? But what are you going to do with what you have? No matter what your circumstances are, what are you going to do with what you have been given? How are you going to churn and alchemate and master your destiny? Are you going to take your fate, Neo, the one, you are your one, the center of your universe, and how are you going to make it so and design it in a way that reflects, that honors, that serves you? And remembering that as you serve you, the love, the light within yourself, all else is nourished. As you heal yourself, the world is healed, and as the world is healed, you are healed. It's an old Mayan saying. And so coming back to ourselves and coming back to this, what is this really? This moving out of the matrix, this neo adventure. This is the orgasmic life. This is the life that is out of time. This is the life that exists when you bridge heaven on earth. This is not the life that you are not showing up to. That doesn't make sense. This is when you access your adventure, you bring about the correct environment for your superpowers, your abilities to exist multidimensionally, to be activated. As long as we stay in the status quo, we will never know the expanse of how far reaching we are, which is really eternal. It is beyond infinite. We are that. We are everything, including God, including white light, including all the polarities, all the densities, and all of the non-polarities, all of the invisibilities. Yet ultimately, with our free will, we choose that we not be a victim of this life. We choose our pathways. And if you've come this far on your spiritual journey and you've seen beyond the veils, well, now it is a time for your second level of study. Now it is a time for you to show up. Your study, your initiation is showing up as that 5.0 version of you on the other side of this eclipse. It's using the momentum of all of the healing, of all of the light that you've gathered unto yourself up until this point, and using it like it's a wave and surfing that wave home, coming home in every moment. And what is that? It is home to love. It is home into that present moment. It is home into the now. Right? Not waiting for the second coming, like Santos Bonacci was saying, but recognizing the second coming, it's in here. It's an internal affair. And that it's here right now. You being embodying love. But ultimately, I can't tell you what it is for you. I can simply hold the way open and give you some ideas of what I have discovered. Ultimately, you get to go through your own initiation, go through your own journey of experiencing what does your mystery hold? What does your piece of the puzzle call you to do, call you to experience? If you erased everything that you think that you're supposed to do in this world and allowed just everything that you really know is true in your heart to be, where can those aspects of self meet? Where can you start to give more space and time to that wise voice of your heart that calls you to be in certain places at certain times, that calls you to show up in certain ways in this life? It's all of those little parts of you, those little parts of the pattern that add up to creating the greater whole. If this is all a hologram, if everything is energy, including you, then learning to master that energy, and ultimately, as a high alchemist, which is not using manipulation, not using dark, power, shadow, trance, states, right, to affect that, but by way of learning how to embody love, how to see love, how to speak love into the world and all around you. And we learn how to hold that frequency, that vibration of love within ourselves so deeply, so powerfully. And it is that love that guides us. It is the love that tells you how to alchemate. It is the love that makes it so through you, that adds things to you. And so, yes, there is an aspect of being the magician, of calling in the elements, right? Hermeticism, of using these very fundamental sacred powers of understanding that energy attracts like energy, and how to neutralize energy and activate energy. And we certainly have these aspects. And we learn how to master that in the grid. We learn how to master our time and space as we make our way through the labyrinth of the matrix, to the heart, to the 4D, to that fourth dimensional consciousness, that Christ consciousness, coming back home to that in every moment, remembering the truth in every moment, and allowing ourselves to remember we have the free will to choose the experience that we would have here at any given moment, and to know that we can choose it again and again and again, and that we can choose love again and again and again. And as that alchemist, really that's the work of the alchemist, is learning how to embody love and let love show you how to put the magic together, right? The magician is one level, and we're pretty good magicians. We're good at manifesting, right? Good at getting what we want, making it so. And so we can bless all of these aspects, and we can bring it into the next light of alchemy, where now we consciously bridge and bring in that frequency of love. And we say, now love, I am your magician, love. I am your artist. I am your body. I am your mouth. I am your eyes. I am your hands. Show me as an alchemist, as a master of my time and space. Show me how I might put these elements, how I might devise, and co-create with you divine love. The most perfect situation, the most perfect conditions, environments, situations for more love to be present within me and all around me. And that's really fierce. It's easy to do fear. It's easy to manipulate people. I mean, come on. It's easy. That's kind of like how we're brought up. It's kind of how we're brought up, with these push-pull emotional dual planes of existence. And we'll do a show that's strictly, I've really been wanting to write a book for a long time, although I haven't, but just about the nature of duality, the nature of polarity, and how it's just brought up, how we are brought up. Finish your plate of food. Do you know how many people are starving in Africa? Like, how many times did we hear that, or did we hearing about that kind of a saying, right, when we were growing up? And that's so polarity based. And that's what I'm talking about, is that we're moving away from the binary system. We're moving away from doing X, Y, Z, because if we don't, this is bad. Or if we don't help, then we're hurting. You know, it's this binary, this polarity, polarized, dual system. And we're moving out of that. We're not taking either of those pills. We're not agreeing with either of those considerations of mind and matter. We're going, well, that's nice, that's interesting, but I'm going to just choose love, and only love, and allow love then to collapse the correct timelines, to give rise and fruition to those that are ready to rise. And I'm just going to chill here with love being my central axis, my central pillar of self, and allow that to guide. And what I've learned on my Neo experience is that is the ultimate adventure. That is the ultimate journey, because it is complete surrender to a higher order, to your higher self, to God, to you getting out of your fear-based mentality version of self that would love to have you collapse down and to have ill health and to be in pain and to be suffering over the past throughout your future. But we start to heal ourselves. We generate light. We generate love. We start to learn ways and modalities to heal our lives, to heal our past, to heal ourselves, so that we can collapse all that stuff and come into the power of now, power of the present moment, where your truth always resides. And then that's your way to alchemy. That's when then you get to start practicing on purpose, consciously, with love. You say, take me, source, take me love, take me white light. I give myself to you, channel through me what you would have channel through me. Whether you're an artist, a performer, you have a show yourself, you create on any level. You're all creators, but allowing love to show you, to guide through you, that which is for the highest good of you and for the highest good of all, is what co-creates the fourth dimension, is what co-creates in every moment that you decide and you choose love, the 4D, that is outside of time, that is outside of the matrix, of the status quo, of the grid that we have been indoctrinated with. And so that now that you have, coming back to that first post in the presentation where it's that picture of Neo, right, now that you've awakened, now what are you going to do with it? Now where are you going to go with it? Now you get to really, really begin your adventure of living your truth, of choosing love over fear. But ultimately, I can't tell you what to choose. You will choose your own way and for yourself. And even when we choose wrongly, or we, go off path, we always come back to path. We always come back. So there's no judgment. There's no harshness. We get what we need as we go. And I pray that you've gotten what you've needed out of this show this morning. And thank you again, everyone, for your patience. The first half of the show got cut off, but we hopped back on. So I'm so grateful for all of you for being present with me every week at 4D Trinity for this live stream. I really love and appreciate our community here. And again, thank you all of the new subscribers. If you are new to this channel and you appreciate what we're talking about, hit the red button, hit the subscribe, and hit the bell next to it. You'll be informed of any time I share and upload a new video, or anytime I schedule a live stream. If you're interested in finding out more, go to my website, tuesdaymaythomas.com, and you can subscribe at my actual website to my monthly love letter. I send out once a month an email. It might go into your promos, your junk, or your spam, so please check there. You'll also receive a copy of my mini book, The Higher Self, Blueprint of Self-Mastery, when you do subscribe at my website. And again, I will come back later and I'll make sure I'll put a link to Santos Bonacci and to This Esoteric Life podcast. They, Seafree, you totally inspired the show today. And I feel that there's so much more. And I look forward to maybe someday chatting with you, myself, and sharing. Thank you, everyone, again, for being here, for being present. I'm so very grateful. I am Tuesday May Thomas, and this is 4D Trinity, where we bridge fourth dimensional consciousness with the unity of mind, body, and emotions. Enjoy a super blessed week. And again, know that you can send me an email if you are interested in us having a talk, a conversation, a presentation about any topics at all that are spiritual, metaphysical, multidimensional. You can send me an email and make a request. I'd be very grateful and happy to do so. So blessings, everyone. Thank you again for joining. Namaste. Blessings, blessings.